Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Spumele Lezondi with your technology and social media news. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. We hope you still are staying indoors. If you don't have to be outside, if you must be outside, wear that face mask. You must also wash your hands. If you don't have water and soap nearby, sanitize, as we've been asked to in order to stop the spread of COVID-19. This week, our Twitter poll is asking you if you've started dabbling in cryptocurrency. This as Ether, another cryptocurrency after Bitcoin, has had a massive run of late. Results of that are coming up later in the program. Firstly, here's what's coming up tonight. Virgin Active experienced a massive hacking recently. We find out why such hacks are happening so frequently at various organizations of late. As Nkosana Makate has been battling out the amount he wants to be paid by Vodacom after he created the Please Call Me service, we ask you about your favorite Please Call Me moments. And in our discussion, we look at a report that says a lot of people are worried about automation at work. If you train with Virgin Active, you would have realized that you received an SMS recently telling you about a data breach. There was a time that their website as well as their app were down. It seems like a lot of organizations are experiencing some of these data breaches of late. So this week we're asking, why is this happening so frequently?
A recent study conducted by FireEye Research Company has stated that half of the businesses operating across the globe are not prepared to deal with cyber attacks. Due to these attacks, consumers are losing trust in hacked companies. Virgin Active is the latest to fall prey to hackers. The company issued a statement saying it was targeted by sophisticated cybercriminals. It further said it was not yet clear how hackers managed to compromise their systems. Gym enthusiasts are now worried about what will happen to their personal data, and some decided to cancel their membership immediately, citing safety concerns.
I was a bit scared about it. I still am, because with the type of information and data that Virgin Active has of its members, it's quite a big deal because you don't know what type of information the hackers could have taken, for example. So it does leave me on a bit of the edge. I'm considering, just for my own safety, to cancel my membership at the moment.
As a fitness enthusiast and having been a member to a gym, I won't be specific of the name, I decided to cancel my membership because of obviously COVID. But now that this has happened and me having adopted a method of training at home or at the park, I am realizing that I'm not only safe from COVID, but I'm also safe with my own personal data, because we share very intimate and intricate information, such as our banking details, such as our ID numbers to verify our memberships to these places.
There has been a rise in hacking campaigns over the course of this year, with the last 6 months of 2020 seeing more of these intrusions. Data analysts warned that companies will see more of these attacks.
If you look both locally and globally, this year you're starting to see a sharp rise in those particular attacks. So when we look at in summary, I think if you look at one of the latest landscape cyber threat reports in South Africa, we know that Android mobile phones in South Africa are the most targeted by banking malware.
They have attributed the attacks to a combination of criminals continuing to evolve their tools and how hacking groups have exploited the rise in remote working driven by COVID-19 pandemic.
So cyber criminals are able to use new technologies, new ways, new methods in which they actually are able to hack and infiltrate a company's data. Ransomware as a service is the real. It is a threat. It is on the increase.
COVID and the pandemic introduced a new set of complexity where enterprise had to adjust quickly to facilitate work from home. So I think the reality of what we're seeing today is that those drastic changes to architecture, systems, platforms leads itself to enterprises possibly being vulnerable.
Tech analysts say being vulnerable to cyber attacks put customer satisfaction and trust at risk as they develop negative feelings towards a company that was unable to protect itself.
Well, the compromise may result in some consumers opting to find another service provider, if available. That is an option that consumers consider as part of their approach in terms of where systems or platforms are compromised.
In 2019, we reported about the city of Johannesburg that was hacked and how its information was compromised.
The initial investigation suggests that it came through end-user platforms. We started detecting it from individual machines. So it would move from one machine to the other. If the other machine is off, it would skip and move to the other.
At the time, the hackers demanded 4 bitcoins from the city, which currently have an estimated value of almost 500,000. Those in the industry say the good news is that more than 70% of organizations are now planning to increase their cybersecurity budget in 2021, which is a good sign that companies have started to see cybersecurity as a necessity and not as a mere asset.
With the advent of more sophisticated cyber attacks, companies are finally coming to the fore and being able to apportion more of their budget to IT security. This is a good thing, as it means that there are people out there that are cognizant of the fact that IT security is paramount to a business being able to survive.
They also want companies to have adequate recovery plans in place and avoid losing millions after hacking incidents.
Having a data recovery plan is key and paramount to all companies, in that once you have suffered a downtime, obviously you need to limit that downtime to as few minutes or hours as humanly possible.
Analysts say with the adoption of new technologies and approaches, businesses are better positioned to protect themselves.
We hope a lot of these organizations can do a better job at tightening things when it comes to their security so that the data that they hold can be a little bit safer. All right, now Nkosana Makate has been back in court with Vodacom. He wants a massive payout for creating the Please Call Me service. This week, we are asking some of you about your favorite Please Call Me moments.
My memories about Please Call Me, I used to send Please Call Me to my father because I wanted to visit him, or else I miss him. I just want to talk to him. I just want to hear his voice only.
I think the last time was maybe last month. During the hectic times when I barely have airtime, I barely have money to buy food, so I'll actually send a Please Call Me to my grandmother to actually help out.
The last time I used a callback was years ago, and I used to use the callback just to get a hold of, people that I wanted to meet, and I didn't have airtime. I remember this one time I used the callback. I said, "Please call Ngieza," and I didn't have airtime to call the person that I was going to. So I was just letting them know that I'm on the way, but obviously I don't have airtime. But they did call back, and then we were able to communicate.
It was like 5 months ago. I was a student back then, so I used to need like rent money sometimes, food. So I used to send Please Call Me's for them to send me money, or sometimes even when I miss my parents, I just send a Please Call Me, then I'll get the call.
And Please Call Me was useful back in the days, especially when I was still at tertiary, because most of the time I wouldn't have a time.
It would seem like a lot of people say they send Please Call Me's when they are younger and when they are students. And it seems like it's something that fizzles out once they get older. All right, we keep on hearing how COVID-19 lockdowns changed a lot of what we do and how we live our lives, with technology becoming a huge part of that. Let's go to East Africa now, in Kenya to be specific, where COVID-19 also changed how people interact with technology.
Kenya has been coping with the new normal brought by the restrictions of COVID-19 pandemic, in which internet connectivity has become a pivotal part of structuring studies, routine work schedules, and business operations. The implementation of health safety measures, including stay-home orders and curfews to curb the spread of disease, have made the internet and its related technologies the essential tool of people's daily lives.
Libraries, the internet is where academia is operating. The internet is where dating is happening. The internet is where finance is and business is, and governments are actually on the internet. And so the internet is the new city. It has everything. And this pandemic has further pushed us deeper into the internet, making us more of an interconnected community.
During this special period, Kenya has witnessed several positive developments from the telecom sector. One of the mobile network operators, Safaricom, has doubled the speed of its mobile internet bundles for subscribers whose lives are becoming more and more dependent on the invisible community.
A lot of things shift. Money shifts, economic formations shift, alliances shift. That is the reality of a crisis, that they not only affect, for example, in this case, your health, they affect your economy, and they affect who holds economic power.
With the surge of e-commerce sales, the Kenyan government capitalized on the trend by introducing digital tax measures. The Kenya's 2020 Finance Bill applies to online trading activities related to mobile applications, software, and websites.
It is a SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram News Network at sabc.co.za on email. After the break, we chat about automation at work. It is a SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back. Now, Boston Consulting Group says about 14% of people say that they fear automation in the workplace, but a huge chunk of people say they are open to being reskilled for the jobs that they do. In the past, we've often heard about a gender gap as well, especially when it comes to the technology sector. And what happens to this now that technology has taken a lot of things that used to be done manually? Now, joining me to discuss some of these issues is Baratang Mia, who is founder and CEO of Girl Hub. Hello, and thank you very much for being a part of our network, Baratang. Maybe if you can start by telling us about whether organizations are really open to reskilling their employees.
Yes. Most organizations at the moment are really upskilling their workforce, and it's one of those things where they didn't ask for it. It was pushed onto them by COVID. We come from a traditional way of people going to work, coming to work, and there's an office, there's a desk, there's colleagues, and we have meeting rooms, and we have and all that was stripped away when we were all locked into our homes. And remote working became big. And that was pushed on by a scenario that we had no choice. Companies didn't have enough time to plan, think. It just happened. So I would say because of that, most employees now can do remote work. I would say because of that, most employees are now tech enabled. And corporates now know that everybody must have a laptop. Everybody has to know how to use all these technology enablement softwares, and how do they incorporate them into their organization. So I would say most organizations really upskill their employees, and they now know what it means to upskill.
Baratang, it's one thing for organizations to be open to reskilling employees, but are employees willing to be reskilled?
It's a tough situation because how the career path works and how work deliverables is done is two different things. So what is happening now in the market is new skills are coming into the place, new work environments are coming into the place, and someone has to take ownership somewhere. So I would say corporates took their ownership and said, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to, and they were forced to introduce new softwares and tech and implement into the organization. What I found in this scenario is that because careers are not as linear path anymore as the way we used to know that I get into the workplace, I do internship and I do this and I get promoted, you wait for someone to, they are just a muddled up maze. And it's purely because of tech. So what I find is there's two parts. Employees should take ownership of what they need to upskill themselves with, because they are building their own career path, and they should find, how do we fit into this organization? Because as organizations brings in tech, some skills are going to change and some people are going to be left out of the pie. So it's your path, it's your career. Look at what do I need, soft skills that I need, not soft skills, like non-tech skills that I need to build into this.
There's a term that one hears frequently nowadays, and you hear it at conferences, you hear it in the workplace when people say they were born before technology and therefore they seem to fear it. So what do we do with those individuals?
What technology does, it's there to improve our lives. And when it becomes that, we as human beings need to upskill ourselves to keep up with it. The people who understood that there's a first industry, roads are being built, the rails, there's no more sitting at home and you sitting on fire, there's electricity coming and it's changing our life, are the same people who looked at the opportunity, took it and grew with it. Because whether we like it or not, AI is here. Whether we like it or not, technology is going to be how we do our daily work. And it's not to take people's jobs, it's just to improve how we do our daily lives. As long as we make it human and we make it diverse and we include people in the process. If you don't become part of it, you're going to be left behind. And there's no such thing as I was born before technology. I was born before technology. When most of the Gmails age, I was out of school when Facebook came. I was finished with universities, but I'm the biggest, I have followers on Facebook and I have followers on Instagram. And it's because I've realized it's an opportunity. I need to be in the forefront taking advantage of those opportunities.
And then there's always been a gender gap, especially when it comes to the technology sector. Do you find that this gender gap is closing? Should we close it? How should we close it?
Diversity and inclusion is very relevant. And I always speak about it because we have to go back to the history of our country. I'm just going to bring a history 1 minute class. In South Africa, when the industries were evolving, motor industry, mining industry, they were the big ones with tech. The skilled technical labor, law, written in papers, people must go study it, said all the technical skills jobs are reserved for white males. Now you have all the white males owning jobs, and generationally they created a pattern of culture, mentorship, ownership amongst themselves. So now how do we get people to be part of it? When I say people, I mean anyone who's not a white male. All of a sudden, New South Africa comes in and people are entering this space, and tech develops from just being just the internet to where we are today. Getting people into that space, it's supposed to be, corporates need to be deliberate about it, to say, we want to increase our numbers, we want to increase the number of women in our corporates, we want to do. So that should be a strategic thing of corporates. How do we encourage young girls to be part of STEM tech? How do we invest in them?
Baratang, at Girl Hype, how do you work with organizations in all of this?
So we look at trends with our corporate partners and look at skills that they need in future. And as Girl Hype, we train women and girls on coding skills and digital tech skills. So based on what they say, these are the skills and these are the trends that are coming up, skills that are coming up in future. We train girls on that. Like at the moment, our big courses like Python, cybersecurity, how to build apps, and AI. We've just introduced AI last year. So those are the courses that they would do because there's a need in the market. And trajectory because we work with young women. So we work with young women who are still in universities or in high schools, or those who studied something and are unemployed at the moment and they want to convert their degree into IT. So we work with them, and those ones we try to funnel them and channel them into, there's a huge, research has proved, no women in tech, and there's like 5% when you get to board directorship.
All right, Baratang Mia, founder and CEO of Girl Hype, thank you very much for being a part of our network. And with that, let's take a quick commercial break. SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back. Now, here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the technology space.
Italy, the ancient Roman Colosseum, is once again going to have a floor thanks to a new high-tech project announced by the Culture Ministry. The extraordinary project aims to create a flexible floor to give tourists a clear idea of how the arena would have looked when gladiators fought to the death there. In Addis Ababa, the Ethiopian education sector goes digital as their government works with global blockchain research and development company to digitize record keeping.
So the first deployment we are envisioning is for all my secondary schools plus all my teachers in the country. So that's a bit more than 5 million. So with this 5 million data, digital ID driven, then blockchain driven, performance analytics driven, real-time data driven. So at least I would, as Minister of Education, I would be able to locate exactly where, for example, very good students are in mathematics or in physics or in chemistry.
This system will allow the country's educationalists to remotely monitor the performance of thousands of schools and allocate resources effectively.
Here in Ethiopia, we've just signed our first major deal to implement a digital identity solution across Ethiopia's education sector for an initial pilot of 5 million users. So we think this is probably the largest blockchain implementation done, and the beauty of it for us is how extensible it is. We're starting off in the high school education layer, but following that, we'll be looking to also expand into higher education as well.
Now, as Ether has had a 300% run or more already this year, we are asking you this week online whether you've started dabbling in cryptocurrency. Now, Ether is another cryptocurrency that's been doing really, really well of late. This is after Bitcoin also did well. At 25% are people who say yes, they have started investing in cryptocurrency. We have 51% of people who say no, and a further 24% say they are thinking about it only now. And that's it. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at News Network at sabc.co.za on email. From me, Siphumelele Zondi, and the rest of the network team, stay home and stay safe. Have a good one. Good night.